What is the Secure Freedom Strategy, Tiger Team? The Secure Freedom Strategy is a comprehensive strategy for the United States government to confront the ideologically driven global jihad movement and its enablers, modeled after the successful strategy President Ronald Reagan pursued to defeat Soviet communism, embodied in his National Security Decision Directive, NSDD 75. The strategy paper was developed by an ad group modeled after a Special Forces Tiger Team, comprised of individuals with highly developed skill sets relevant to the mission, in this case, securing freedom not against the global jihad. Why introduce the Secure Freedom Strategy now? The rise of the Islamic State, the resurgence of Al-Qaeda attacks on Western targets, such as Paris, and the ongoing march of Boko Haram in Africa are just some examples of the recent alarming advances of the global jihad movement. Worse yet, the alarming inability of US national security leadership to call this enemy by name or to implement an effective counter-strategy in spheres both kinetic and ideological to defeat actually emboldens and encourages the jihadists to redouble their efforts to achieve our submission to Sharia. Such behavior reflects, in part, the long-term subversive or dour activity of the Muslim Brotherhood inside top intelligence, military and executive decision-making circles, influence operations that have greatly diminished, and arguably neutralized, US defenses against the jihadist enemy. As the 2016 presidential campaign season gets underway and the 114th Congress convenes to undertake an agenda that will likely include consideration of a new authorization for the use of military force, ORM, now is the time to educate policymakers and the American people on the need for a new, whole-of-government strategy to confront the threats we face. What is in the Secure Freedom Strategy? The Secure Freedom Strategy consists of several components, including 1. Understanding the global jihad movement and its threat doctrine. 2. Reversing the hollowing out of the US military and instead pursuing a military posture of peace through strength. 3. Waging counter-ideological warfare by challenging the enemy's animating ideology. 4. Mounting effective intelligence operations that counter, divide and undermine our enemies. 5. Conducting economic warfare by constricting jihadist revenue sources and challenging instruments of financial jihad. 6. Engaging in offensive, as well as defensive, cyber warfare. And 7. Defeating civilization jihad on the home front. Who is on the Secure Freedom Strategy, Tiger Team? The Tiger Team that put together the Secure Freedom Strategy brings to bear the cumulative, many decades-long experience of warriors, counter-terrorist professionals, intelligence officers, analysis, and clandestine, other national security policy practitioners with experience in the execution of President Reagan's NSDD-75 strategy, and information operators. Lieutenant General William G. Jerry Boykin, U.S. Army, former Senior Special Operator and Deputy Under-Secretary of Defense, Member, Center for Security Policy Military Committee Ambassador Henry F. Cooper, former Director of the Strategic Defense Initiative Organization and former Chief Negotiator at the Geneva Defense and Space Talks, expert on military technology and weapons proliferation Fred Flates, career intelligence professional, who served under William J. Casey at the Central Intelligence Agency, in the Department of State, and as a professional staff member of the House Intelligence Committee, Senior Fellow, Center for Security Policy Kevin Freeman, Chartered Financial Analyst, and best-selling author of Secret Weapon: How Economic Terrorism Attacked the U.S. Stock Market, and Why It Can Happen Again, and Game Plan: How to Protect Yourself from the Coming Cyber Economic Attack. Senior Fellow, Center for Security Policy Frank J. Daphne, Jr., former Assistant Secretary of Defense for International Security Policy, Acting, and President, Center for Security Policy Dan Gurr, Vice President, Lexington Institute, and former Director of the Office of Strategic Competitiveness in the Office of the Secretary of Defense John Guandolo, Combat Force Reconnaissance Marine, former Commander, FBI SWAT Team, former Counter-Terrorism Special Agent, and expert on the Muslim Brotherhood's Civilization Jihad in America Jim Hansen, former Army Special Operations Weapons Sergeant, and Senior Fellow, Center for Security Policy Ryan Kennedy, President of the Claremont Institute Claire Lopez, former Operations Officer in the CIA Clandestine Service, Senior Vice President for Research and Analysis, Center for Security Policy Admiral James A. Ace Lyons, U.S. Navy, former Commander-in-Chief, U.S. Pacific Fleet, and father of the Navy Red Cell Counter-Terrorist Unit, Chairman of the Center for Security Policy's Military Committee Joseph E. Schmitz, not former Inspector General, Department of Defense, and Naval Officer. Tom Trento is the Director of the United West, an organization specializing in international terrorism research and information operations. Dr. J. Michael Waller, expert on information and psychological warfare, propaganda and influence operations, Senior Fellow, Center for Security Policy Tommy Waller, Combat Force Reconnaissance Marine Reservist, and Director of State Outreach, Center for Security Policy David Yerushalmi, co-founder and partner, American Freedom Law Center, and expert on Sharia, General Counsel, Center for Security Policy.